The corporate world will often make you feel like there's something wrong with you, you're broken, you're unsuccessful if you're experiencing signs of burnout. I'm here to tell you that is completely untrue. You're not broken, your career is not over. However, something did go wrong along the way. In this video, I'm going to share with you 6 different areas you can examine in your work to see what is not aligning. I'm sharing that with you because I want you to have some tools and perspective to help you step out of burnout and feel empowered again. Before we jump into the 6, I want to make something really clear. We are very different from our counterparts. The corporate world wants us to show up as these machines that can just work and output. However, the truth is that we have different needs. And so you might see a colleague working at a certain pace, in a certain way that completely does not work for you. And that's normal and it's okay. The truth is that when you figure out where your magic is in work, what circumstances and environments help you become more successful and bring out the best in you, then burnout starts to feel further and further away. Yes, it's possible to feel excited to go to work, to be inspired and fulfilled. If you're anything like me when you're experiencing burnout, I just imagined that that was not possible and that everyone was miserable at work. The truth is that we're all these intricate, complex beings. After I burned out and left what was probably a workable situation, I got paralyzed for a couple of years. I was terrified of making any decision because the last work decisions I had made led me to on this really hard path towards burnout. So I was paralyzed and terrified and wanted someone else to make that decision for me until I had this really huge aha moment. I realized that I had already gone down that path and I know very well what it feels like. And so if I'm on that path again, if I find myself in a situation like that again, I can notice it. I can pay attention and start to notice what isn't working. And that empowered me so much. It got rid of my paralysis and helped me distinguish these 6 areas that were important to me and how I wanted it to look for my work. This eventually became part of my career exploration program where I work with my clients to help them make quicker decisions about what work situations will work for them and what won't work for them. Now, I'm not suggesting that you're ready to completely switch careers, although you might be. Check out my program if you want. What I'm suggesting here is that you might be able to intercept this before it ever gets that bad. Let's get into the 6 areas where you might be experiencing some misalignment at work that are contributing to this feeling of burnout. Area 1, physical space and movement. In one of my roles, I worked in the basement in a really large building. There was one window and it was towards the parking lot and a big wall in the parking lot at that. It was so dark in there, and in the wintertime, living up north, the sun went down sometimes before I was off work. And so there'd be months where I almost didn't see the sun on work days. That affected me more than I'd like to admit. Now, I wouldn't leave a job for that, but I did need to understand that I needed to get as much natural light at lunch and breaks as I could to feel better. Now, look, I understand a lot of you are probably working from home, and a lot of us who are working from home have limited ability to really create that space. But I want to put it in your ear to really look around and see if there's small things you can do. And if you are working in that dark space or in a really busy place where you might not be able to concentrate, consider how that's affecting and impacting you. All right, number 2 is, how do you prefer to work? This occurred to me when I was working for a few years on numbers and spreadsheets, and that is just not my strength or preference. I'm someone who loves working with people and engaging with people, hence why I became a coach. So here's some areas for you to consider and what your preferences are. Do you prefer working with people all the time? Do you prefer most of your time to be spent working alone? Or do you like a nice combination of the two? Do you prefer to work creatively with new ideas and to come up with things out of nothing? Or do you prefer to work with concepts that are concrete and set for long periods of time? Or do you prefer working in fast-paced environments where you have things coming out of nowhere, sort of chaotic, and you thrive on being able to respond to those things? On the other hand, you might prefer a predictable, secure environment where you're confident that you can handle everything that comes at you. Do you like projects with end dates where you know you can start and end them? Or do you prefer to work on the same continuous tasks for a long time? These are really important questions to ask yourself, and just know that these preferences are personal. And no, you might not get everything filled in a role, but you might be able to make certain adjustments to have some of the fulfillment or get some clarity on what's not working. Number 3 is a really important one, and it is, do your values align with the work that you're doing? And this one is something that a lot of my clients throw away at first. But it becomes vital in making sure you're in an environment that fits. What are values? Values are these beliefs that we have, strong beliefs we have that we filter the world through. And they can be quite different for different people. Some of your values might be things like freedom, security, expression, creativity, love, family. There are huge long lists of different values, and I go through an in-depth exercise with my clients to discover this, because it can be so important and can become so clear when values don't align. For example, if you value the environment, but your company has somehow a negative impact on the environment, that's going to gnaw at you eventually. And there's this negative impact, especially later on in your career, that you start to feel that you had a hand in some of that. So take this third one seriously, because this is the one that's going to gnaw at you, and later on in your career is going to make you feel really disengaged and unfulfilled. Number 4, work culture. Now, there are so many different types of cultures companies have. Some are positive, some are not, some are toxic, some are really good. And from my experience, I didn't realize this until I worked with quite a few professionals, is that one person's experience of a work environment that might feel toxic might be a really positive experience for someone else. And so I encourage you to really discover and journal about what would be your ideal place to work. How would people work together? What would the feeling be? And trust that it's going to be very specific to you, and you can find it. There's workplaces for everybody. I've seen it, and I believe that. Number 5, life and work balance. Again, this is so personal. We have come to this understanding that we all need a life-work balance that has to be perfect, and that's not always realistic. Think about jobs like Naval SEALs, lawyers, doctors. Those kind of roles will be fully engaging with both time and energy. And it couldn't be any other way, and many people wouldn't want it to be any other way. So what is your life-work balance? What are your needs right now in your life, and what do you anticipate your needs to be later on? Are you someone who enjoys a workplace where people go and hang out after work and have a really deep personal relationship? Do you enjoy thinking about work outside of work, and do you typically do more research and networking outside of work because you love it? Or are you someone who prefers to close the door at the end of the day and spend time with friends and family, hobbies? This is really important to know, and it might change in your stages of life because this can really impact the kind of company you choose. Some companies require and want you to be fully engaged, and others support more of a balanced life. And the hardest thing to do is to be one way and then go into the environment that's the opposite way. It's just not something that can be always adjusted for our needs, so it can be something that we need to decide early on. That being said, when you do understand what your needs are, there are opportunities to speak with management and create schedules in certain roles that are a better fit. The 6th one is your level of contribution. What I mean by that is, how do you want to contribute to the industry, your work, your company, or even something bigger. If you want to think of it as your passion, some people like to have a passion-based career. It's not necessary to be happy, I will tell you that. Maybe you want to make a deep contribution to the environment or to people in some way. Maybe your level of contribution is smaller and it's about making a role more effective, making the environment you work with more positive. So understanding what level of contribution feels good for you and what you want to walk away from, what legacy you want to leave behind, can be really powerful in planning and feeling your way through the next few years for yourself. You don't need to have all 6 of these to be perfectly aligned to feel good at work or to get out of burnout. However, if one of or 2 of these are really misaligned, you might have an opportunity to look and learn about yourself and about your work environment to see if you can correct that. This can help you also identify where your burnout started, where that misalignment happened, that you started to feel like something wasn't quite right. And this helps you learn and how you select future roles, future projects, colleagues, and so on. It's a really powerful part of knowing yourself and being able to navigate a career that feels amazing to you. Now, once you understand what your needs are, it's time to learn how to speak up and how to clearly ask to have your needs met. It's time to learn how to set boundaries so your needs don't get encroached on. And I do this really deeply in my professional boundaries program. If that feels like something you want to check out, the link is down below. In there, I go into deeply assess what boundaries are and also what your values are. We spend an entire week on that. As I said in this video, it's so important. And then we learn some communications techniques to really get comfortable and confident in how we speak for yourselves. It includes coaching from me and includes group work as well.